Hello and welcome to another episode of the Subs and 15 podcast, where we sit and have four different segments of 15-minute intervals of us discussing whatever sports is happening. Today, we have a very special episode for you guys. It is our 1 hour special predictions selection show, whatever you want to call it. Me and one of my best friends, Derek Daniel, are here. Zach Combest usually is with us, but today he can't be, so he's going to be our tiebreaker as me and Derek go back and forth trying to hash out our predictions. How you doing, Derek?
I'm pretty good. I think we're gonna try and spend about 15 minutes on each, region, break down what we think gonna happen, see if we can't make a perfect bracket.
Have a good feeling. Like, I think our bracket is going to be the most accurate in the nation.
You think so?
I do. I don't think anyone else is doing what we're doing, where we have like heated debate over each matchup.
That's true.
So I will say too, we will be having our tournament challenge, our Subs and 15 group. That will be in the description. So if you listen to this before the thing closes tomorrow, you can join and potentially go up against our bracket. Thoughts on that, Derek?
I mean, I've been making brackets left and right. This is just like my favorite time of year. This is like my Christmas.
Oh yeah. Derek, I
Um,
imagine you're the type of person that have like your brackets are up on the walls with like the red line connecting them.
oh, absolutely. Like as soon as the bracket came out, the first thing I did is I went printed one off because I love the paper brackets and I just started filling them out.
Oh, there's something about writing one in. Like
Yeah,
it's nothing
it's a
better.
different feeling.
I
It
agree.
really is a different feeling.
And I love that we say that and are proceeding to fill one out on a computer.
Well, I mean,
If we
with spring
had,
break,
yeah,
yeah, with
if we
spring
could
break
be.
being here and we just can't be in the office, it's an
Yeah,
unfortunate timing, but
it is.
we do we have to.
We do. But or with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and set our 15-minute timer. And as we go over each region, we're going to go ahead and pick to the final four. And then at the end, we'll go ahead and pick our champions. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Go ahead and go to our 15. All right, starting with the West, we are on the clock, Derek. Gonzaga, Georgia State.
I mean, I really think this is like a no-brainer. Only one 16 seeds ever won this matchup, and that was UMBC against
Right.
Virginia, like what 2018, I think.
Yeah, you're right.
So, I mean, it's hard to not pick Gonzaga.
And I agree. I don't think there's any way that Georgia State wins this. They're not as special as UMBC. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
First one on the board. Next up, a very interesting matchup, actually. Boise State and Memphis.
Yeah, and we've talked about Memphis before, and they're just like struggle on the year. But I mean, I know their record's not as good as Boise's, but they've had a tougher schedule. Their BPI is a lot higher. They've played more top 25 teams. They score more points per game.
Yeah, and since Imani Bates' injury, they've gone 10-1. Well, no, not just 10-1, but they're 10-1 since they started 9-8, and they have an even better record since Imani Bates has gone out.
Which is surprising,
I know
considering like how good he was supposed to be.
they're a decent defensive team led by future lottery pick, the center Jalen Duren, who's insane. Um, trying to read here. They're the only issue I would say is that they're a very turnover prone team. They rank in the bottom half of the nation. Like out of 350 teams, they're 346th.
Yeah, I mean, but like since January 20th, they've held opponents to 38 shooting offensively,
Right.
which I think
That's the one of the
obviously
upper
that really
echelon.
helps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
I
some notable
personally,
wins for them is like Alabama, St. Louis. They beat Houston twice. So I mean, they beat Virginia Tech, who just won the ACC. So I mean, they're not like you
no,
can't count them out, I guess.
no, I think you're right. Personally, I don't have a dog in this fight. I do think that if Memphis gets like where they are turnover prone, Boise State being such a deep defensive team could cause them issues. But I don't think Boise has the type of player that Jalen Duren is. So I think if you're going Memphis, I'll agree with you.
Yeah, I think we got to go Memphis here.
All right,
I just
Memphis
don't
it
think
is.
Boise can do it.
I'm with you. All right, moving along, Yukon and New Mexico State.
I don't, I haven't really watched much of the Aggies this year. They haven't played a top 25 team. Their BPI is in the hundreds. They don't score that much per game. I think they're just like a decent mid major that was able to win their tournament and make it in.
No, they're like I agree with that, but Chris Jans' squad is led by guard Teddy Allen, who averages a hair over 19 per game. The guy is insane. He averages over a steal a game. They have 8 upperclassmen, very tough defensively. I'm saying that more of just kind of like a devil's advocate for New Mexico State, but I'm still going UConn.
Yeah, I mean, like they, I don't even, they don't have a win against the tournament team. I don't think so. Like
I love Dan
that is,
Hurley's UConn, dude. They're
yeah,
scrappy. They fight for loose
y-
balls.
they do. They really like proved themselves in the Big East as well. I know they didn't win it. Obviously Nova won that, but like
Big East is a tough
UConn,
conference.
it is. It really is. So
Okay,
and Auburn, they beat Auburn. Is my thing.
they did beat Auburn, and I agree. So we've gone UConn.
We're going UConn.
All right, next another like a team that's very similar to UConn. Eric Musselman's Arkansas Razorbacks take on the Vermont Catamounts.
Yeah, man. As much as I love Arkansas, part of me wants to pick Vermont, right?
I
Because there's always that 13-4 upset somewhere in the bracket, and I really think it could be here.
right, and to kind of back up what you're saying here, they're not overly tall, but they have 10 seniors with 12 upperclassmen on a 17-man roster. They're very efficient offensively. Everyone knows their role. They rank 10th nationally in opponents' points per game, so they're really decent defensively. But here's the thing. Their pace is a lot slower than Arkansas's. Arkansas is that defense first, kind of play the passing lane, score in the fast break, right? That is not
Yeah,
Vermont. Vermont is a
yeah,
score in the half court, stop you in the half court. So it's like I know like what you're saying. I completely agree with. If Vermont can control the pace with their size, I don't think they will. I think JD Note and Jalen Williams are going to run the crap out of Vermont, and I think that they win by double digits.
yeah. JT Note can just absolutely take over a game, which is
Exactly.
obviously something amazing to have on your team. So I would agree with you. As much as I want to pick Vermont, I think we have to pick Arkansas.
All right, dope. Arkansas it is. So next, Bama versus Rutgers or Notre Dame. So first, we got to pick Rutgers or Notre Dame.
I really like Rutgers coming out of that one
I
because
do too.
like Notre Dame has some notable wins. Don't get me wrong, and
Ah,
so does Rutgers.
I would say they've
And
got
all of
one
Notre,
notable win.
well, hold on, they beat because obviously they beat Kentucky back in December. Um,
I mean,
it, re- it
I think
might,
their other
might have
like
been
quad one win was at Clemson, and Clemson's just a mediocre, maybe mid-level ACC team, and a bad year for the ACC.
yeah,
Like,
man. But like that's what I'm saying. Like all of Notre Dame's notable wins, other than the Clemson one, I think are at home. And Rutgers usually, I think their notable wins were on the road this year. Like I know
well,
they won at Purdue. I'm pretty sure.
Rutgers is actually, I think it's the same thing with Rutgers. Rutgers is on the road. They've only won like 4 games on the year. But my thing is that number one, while it was at home, Rutgers does have more like high end wins. But also, I just feel like they have the star power. Rutgers has Ron Harper Jr. and Geo Baker, and Geo Baker is an absolute stud.
Yeah.
Like, yes, they're a roller coaster team, but also they're not that bad defensively. They're deep. They have a complementary roster, so everyone kind of like what I was describing with Vermont. They have guys that know their role and they play it very well. Um, and their only lows you can say this year, like they had some bad losses, but those only happened when Geo Baker was hurt.
Man,
So
I really like the Scarlet Knights in this one. I don't know. I mean, I
the
think you're on the same page, but
yeah, like not just in the Notre Dame matchup. If and when they beat Notre Dame and they get Bama, I have Rutgers winning that one too.
yeah, that's my thing. Is if Rutgers can pull out the Notre Dame game, I have them beating Bama because Bama has been one of those teams where like
Roller
they'll
coaster,
go beat Gonzaga, they'll go beat whoever, they'll go beat a top 5 team,
right?
and then they'll just blow it against like they lost to Texas A&M by 16, who in my opinion Texas A&M got
Should have.
snubbed out
They
of the
did.
tournament,
They did.
should have been in there. Anyway, but like they beat Gonzaga by 9
Right.
in Gonzaga.
And then their losses are Iona, Missouri, Mississippi State, and Georgia. Like those are awful.
Yeah, they've got really bad losses and they've got really good wins. So like they're just a hard team to predict. So like if they come out shooting, I think Bama takes it, but I think Rutgers is just a more well-rounded team.
Oh yeah, and Bama's lost 3 of their last 4. And in the tournament, defensive teams go farther, and Rutgers is the far superior defensive team.
Yeah.
So yeah, so
I
we're
mean,
both going Rutgers.
I think we're both going Rutgers.
Awesome, Rutgers. Now up next, this is going to be another quickie. Texas Tech and Montana State.
I really, really like Texas Tech in this one.
Oh yeah,
The Red Raiders are looking good. You would think after Chris Beard left that they would have had a falling off, I guess, you would have imagined, but they're doing good. They beat Baylor twice. They beat Kansas. They
Joey
beat
McGuire's got
Tennessee.
that squad. He picked up the pieces Chris Beard just kind of threw away, and he's got them right back where they were.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think Montana State's going to be any problem.
All right, Texas Tech going ahead and moving on. Michigan State and Davidson.
Like I watched that Davidson Richmond game. You know, Richmond, Davidson was ahead, and Richmond fought back, which makes me think. We always talk about how Tom Izzo is a March coach, right? He built his teams for March.
Right.
And he always just seems to be ready whenever that comes. No matter what seed he is, what bracket he's in, he just always has his teams ready to go. So I really like the Spartans in this matchup.
Yeah, I actually disagree with you. We're at our first crossroads here. I
Ooh,
I love Tom Izzo. I think he's a great coach. Obviously, one of the greatest to have ever done it. But the issue with this squad is that they don't really have a star. Their best player is Gabe Brown. They have a deep rotation, but they don't have that it factor. They struggled down the stretch because they didn't have a guy that would take that shot, you know? Teams that did have that guy were blowing them out. They're just nothing special. Like they're just average. Like all their numbers, you look at it, they're nothing to really shine at. Whereas Davidson, they've got 3 really strong pieces: Foster Lawyer, Jung Lee, and Luka Bratkovic. They're all 3 really good players that really can lead that squad. I think that Richmond game was just a bad day for them. And on top of it, not to mention their deep rotation, their offensive stars, like I said, they star. Foster Lawyer, their best player, is a Michigan State transfer.
well,
So I think with that chip on their shoulder, not only coming off of a loss that they obviously shouldn't have taken, but also the fact that Foster Lawyer can kind of stick it to Tom Izzo and the Spartans that didn't really play him, I think Davidson wins the game.
well, I really, I mean, yes, you're making great points. I really think Tom Izzo gets the job done.
Going to
So
Zach to see who he
we're going to
picked.
Zach.
He picked Michigan State. So, as democracy foretold, Michigan State will move on in our bracket. Up next, we have Duke in CSU Fullerton. This is another one I think we can just move on. We only have 4.5 minutes left, so we can go ahead and just pick Duke and move on.
Yeah.
So okay, so going back to the top here, Gonzaga and Memphis.
I think it's a struggle for Memphis to get out of that first round. So I think Gonzaga wins that one pretty handedly.
Agreed.
Drew Timmy is just unreal, and so is Chet Holmgren.
Yep. So yep, going ahead and going Gonzaga. Next, this is probably going to be the matchup of the tournament. Uconn and Arkansas.
They both score around the same, both hold opponents to around the same. Arkansas's 4-1 against top 25 opponents. UConn's 3-4. But I really think UConn pulls it out.
Really? Here we go. This is another crossroads because listen, they are very similarly built teams. They both have Dan Hurley and Eric Musselman. They're very similar coaching styles. They run the break. They teach their kids to absolutely scrap and hustle. And also you would run through a brick wall for either of them. But the issue with UConn is that their defense is uber aggressive, right? Like they are over aggressive, one would say. They give up a lot of easy buckets because they're over aggressive. Think A.W. Hamilton at EKU. So I really think sorry, what?
That'll either really help where JD Note just runs the floor and has like 60 transition points,
Right.
or he'll turn the ball over 15 times. So
I think I trust the better team, and I think Arkansas is the better team in this situation. Now, obviously, if UConn wins this is not going to be one where I'm going to be shocked. But I'm going Arkansas. But since you went UConn, that means Zach is going to be our tiebreaker here. Dak win Arkansas.
All right.
So Arkansas moves on. Next, Rutgers versus Texas Tech. I
I
think
don't. It's hard to not pick the Red Raiders.
exactly. For everything we just described, they're so deep and they've got so many players that can light it up on any given night. And Joey McGuire's got them really rolling at the right time. Even with that loss in the Big 12 championship, it doesn't really matter. They're going Tech.
Yeah. Yes.
And I have a feeling we're going to do the exact same thing for Michigan State and Duke.
Nah. I have Michigan State.
Really?
Duke has not played a quad one game in so long. I mean, yeah, yes, the North Carolina game in the season, but like before that, I don't think they played a quad one game since December.
No, you're right, and they are struggling to end the year. Like defensively, they're just not the same. This is not your typical Duke team, and they don't really have that guy. I mean, they have multiple guys, but they don't have the guy that takes the shot. You know what I mean? No
Yeah.
one's coming up above the others. But for everything I said for why Michigan State would lose that game, I have Duke winning, or losing the game against Davis. It is why I have Duke winning this one. Michigan State just doesn't have a star.
Yeah, but like I mean, here's my thing with Duke is like they struggled against Syracuse, barely pulled that out in the ACC tournament. They struggled against Miami and barely pulled it out. And then when they got to Virginia Tech cooked them. And like
But
you
Virginia Tech
know,
also has stars.
yeah, but we weren't like nobody was going into that tournament thinking, "Oh, Virginia Tech's going to pull this out" because they
Right.
were like what, an 8 seed?
We have a minute
So,
to get through the rest of this, so I'm gonna go ahead and pick Duke because Zach did go Duke. All right, we got
Zach.
we got Gonzaga and Arkansas. I'm telling you right now, I'm going Arkansas.
Yeah, in this matchup, I do like the Razorbacks over Gonzaga because I just think they will finally run into someone with some size and
Exactly.
JD Note can
Speed.
yeah, JD Note can get the ball up and down the floor real quick. So
S-
I do like the Razorbacks in
All
this.
right, I agree. Arkansas moves on. Texas Tech and Duke. I have Tech.
I do have Tech as well.
I think for like what we were just describing about Duke not having that guy to take the shot, I think Texas Tech does. I think that they've got multiple guys like that, and once again, they have an identity defensively, so I think that'll give Duke a lot of trouble.
Yeah. I think we go Tech here though.
I agree. So our clock just went off. So we're gonna go ahead and go Tech here. Now we're gonna go ahead and make our final four pick, and we'll end the show with our final four selections: Arkansas or Texas Tech.
I like Texas Tech in this one really personally. They've had tougher matchups. They've got a better BPI. I mean, I think the SEC was a tougher conference. So, when you look at conference record, Arkansas has a better one, which makes me think, even though they played tougher opponents, they still perform at a higher level.
Right.
But I think Texas Tech's defense is what wins them this game.
The
They hold opponents to 60 points a game.
I agree that Texas Tech. I'm happy that we both agree because Zach has Gonzaga and Duke in this game, and it would have been very unfortunate if our tiebreaker disagreed with us. So we're going Tech.
I think we're going Tech.
All right, our first member of our Final Four is Texas Tech. All right, Derek, going down to the East. Our first matchup: Baylor, Norfolk State.
I mean, it's another one of those no-brainers. It's really hard just to pick a 16 seed, so I think we got to go Baylor.
I agree. I don't think we got to harp on this. They have been injured, but I don't think that they lose this matchup at all.
No.
All right, next we got North Carolina and Marquette.
And this is one of those really, really hard 8-9 games because, Marquette is 6-6 against top 25 teams. UNC's 2-4, but UNC has the better BPI. But they've looked bad at times this year.
Right, and here's the thing: both of these schools are led by first-year head coaches in Hubert Davis and Shaka Smart. If you want to give the coach credit, or the coach edge, Shaka Smart does have NCAA tournament experience for his days back in VCU, but yes, North Carolina started kind of rough. Since then, they've picked it up. They've really been able to shoot the ball. They're led by Armando Bacot and Caleb Love, who are two really good players, and then behind them are Brady Manick and R.J. Davis. So I think that they just have more star power.
Yeah, and I think the name you're leaving off there is Leaky Black is one of the, I think, upcoming stars for that team. He's
Yeah,
been their solid figure throughout the year. As bad as they've looked at times, I think he's been pretty consistent.
yeah. These two
I
teams
really,
heavily. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just say I'm liking the Tar Heels because I think they're peaking at the right time,
Oh, I agree.
whereas Marquette was peaking early and they've kind of fallen off.
I agree. I just think like these two teams mirror each other a lot. They're both really good offensively, but defensively they kind of suck. Um,
Yeah,
but I think if you go into a shootout, I have to trust North Carolina and their star power.
yeah,
We're both going UNC.
yep.
So, all right, up next, St. Mary's and Indiana. Indiana last night won their play-in game, defeating Wyoming. Did enough to beat St. Mary's.
Personally, I don't think so. I have St. Mary's. Their BPI is higher. They're 24th. Indiana's 33. My only thing with St. Mary's is they're kind of in the same boat of like where we had Gonzaga a couple years ago, where they don't play anybody in their conference other
Right.
than Gonzaga. So I mean, it's like it's kind of hard to judge them, but
I
they
will
have a
say, they do have a third member of the West Coast Conference in here, and they're down in San Francisco State down the line.
yeah, yeah.
But like, I do
Uh,
agree, the West Coast Conference is very soft.
but St. Mary's does have a pretty good defense. I mean, they hold opponents to 60 points a game.
Oh, where they
That's
sit,
really good.
they are at 12th in the nation in points allowed, which is insane. The reason for that is because they play such a slow tempo. They're very patient, but that slow tempo does get them into trouble sometimes because they whittle down that shot clock and they don't know what to do with it.
Yeah. I mean, and they did beat San Francisco twice this year. They beat Gonzaga once. But like it's kind of like where I am with North Carolina. Like Indiana's kind of peaking at the right time. They made it pretty far in the Big Ten. They obviously beat Wyoming last night, so it'll be interesting to see. But I think I have the Gales coming out of this one.
I agree. I think that their pace control against a team that doesn't necessarily dominate in terms of the fast break, I think that they will slow down Indiana and give them fits, even if they are a little bit smaller.
Yeah.
The next matchup, UCLA and Akron.
I was talking about the 4-13s. There's always an upset. It's not here. I mean,
No,
UCLA is just far and beyond. Like they beat Arizona, beat Villanova, beat Marquette. Like they've played some good tourney teams, and
well they
I
have.
just don't see Akron doing it.
I think the only thing that would worry me about UCLA, and it more so worries me down the line, but not right now. Johnny Juzang did, I think it was sprain his ankle, so he's been kind of playing inconsistent lately. But this team, they have four players that score in double digits. They're top 50 offensively, top 50 defensively in terms of points allowed. They have a 9-man rotation with a lot of guys that were on the tournament team last year. I really like UCLA.
I do too. I think they'll win this matchup pretty easily.
Agreed. I mean, not I did just pick UCLA, but I do want to give Akron some credit. They've got some dudes. They have a big named Ali who's blocking shots left and right in the MAC. They have the MAC tournament MVP and Enrique Freeman, who goes from walk on to star, which is a great thing to hear. They're a very young team. They're not bad defensively, but they're in the MAC. So like, I wonder how that would be swayed if they were in a more difficult conference.
Yeah,
But we have UCLA, so we'll go ahead and move on. I've called this the game of the tournament. This next one, I really think this will be a great game.
I do too. Um, it's kind of like I'm staying with Indiana, North Carolina though. Like the Hokies are peaking at the right time.
That's what I'm saying. Like I have Virginia Tech in mind,
I do too. And it's weird to me to think that Virginia Tech only got in because they won the ACC tournament,
which
right?
is
They're 23 and
ridiculous.
12,
Like
right? They're 23 and 12. That's a better record than most of these teams. Like if you
Michigan
look at
sitting at 17
Michigan,
and 14.
yeah, the fact that Michigan made the tournament is beyond me, but we're not going to talk about that right now. But Texas defense, all right,
Oh, they're tough.
that that's where they can win this game if they can clamp down on the Hokies and pull this one out.
The
But I
I,
think I think Virginia Tech's just got a good enough offense to where they can maneuver around Texas defense.
Oh, I agree. These are two very defensive-minded teams with bigs that hard to score on, and you've got guards that can make plays, right? Like for Texas' sake, like I'm gonna keep going over and play devil's advocate here. They have a 10-man rotation. They're very long and athletic. They have this amazing defense with they rank sixth in the nation in opponents' points per game with 59.6. But the issue with them is that they're a poor shooting team, and they've gone 5-6 since the beginning of February. Whereas on the opposite side, Virginia Tech, they've got their bigs, Kiva Luma and Justin Mutz. Those two, they will face you up. They are straight up face up 4 and 5s who will put the ball on the floor, make you move as a center, draw fouls like a guard, which is insane to have two of them in your starting five. Other guys that round out their starting five, Hunter Couture, who can absolutely shoot the lights out of it. I think in the ACC tournament, he shot like 8 of 9 from deep. And then you've got Storm Murphy, who he moves that ball like it's on a string. A great distributor. His points and his numbers do not really say what kind of player he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've gone 13-2 since the end of January. They're an older team who all fit the head coach Mike Young's system. I love Mike Young as a coach. I think Virginia Tech wins this.
I do too.
All right, dope. Moving along, Purdue and Yale. Do we really have to go over this one in depth?
No, and here's my thing. I'm not high on Yale. Okay. As far as Yale goes, or I'm sorry, I'm not high on Purdue, I should say. But they don't get like if you gave me if we go look at a different 3-14, like if you gave me a Colgate here or you gave me a Chattanooga or I'm sorry, not Chattanooga, a Longwood, I could see it because I don't think Purdue's that good, in my opinion. Like, yes, they have Jaden Ivey, who's unreal,
Right.
but that's it. That's it.
They are a very good scoring team, but defensively they're atrocious. Like they have issues on the defensive side of the ball. Which I
Yeah.
think will bite them later, but in this matchup, I don't think they have any issues.
Yeah, I don't either. I think Purdue wins this one.
All right, agreed. So moving along, Murray State in San Francisco. Thoughts?
We've talked a lot about Murray State, and how they've not lost since what, December?
Oh yeah, since before
And
Christmas.
I mean, yeah, so I mean they are doing amazing. They beat Memphis, they beat Chattanooga, so they've beat some tournament teams. And I think San Francisco's only tournament win was UAB. So there's not much to look there.
Right.
I like Murray in this matchup, but it would not surprise me if the Dons pull out the upset.
Yeah, I mean San Francisco is a 3-and-D type of team. They shoot it and they defend against it. Like that's just the kind of team they are. But they don't necessarily shoot it great. Like they shoot it like like an average shooting team. But here's the thing: that number is swayed because they shoot a lot of them, so they miss a lot of them, which makes them a lot more dangerous than I think what the numbers really suggest. But also something to take into account. Their leading rebounder and shot blocker, his name is Johan Masilski. I can't pronounce his last name. Masilski. He missed the West Coast Conference tournament due to an injury. And if he's not playing in this game, Murray State has D1, or they have Power 5 size. They play like a Power 5 school. As you said, they've not lost since before Christmas. They rank top 25 in points per game and opponents' points per game. I think they probably blow this one out if Johan isn't playing.
Yeah.
So I'm going Murray.
I'm going Murray as well.
All right, and this next one, I think this is gonna be another quick one. I mean, Kentucky and St. Peter's.
Yeah, man. Like St. Peter's, like they're really efficient on defense, but they don't have a true big. And I just see Sheboy walking all over them.
He's gonna have a field day in this one.
Absolutely.
All right, going with Kentucky. So going back to the top of this division, Baylor and North Carolina.
We may differ here. All right. I've got North Carolina.
Interesting.
They're again peaking at the right times. So
They are.
they've played really well. I'm not high on Baylor. They've had injuries all year. They've not had a consistent, run through the motions. where I think they can pull off a 6-game stretch since they haven't really done that, all year. So, I mean, like, they lost their starting center, Jonathan Schwama.
Tachua.
Ch- t- Yes, he's out for the season. So I think Leaky Black has a field day here and just runs all over Baylor.
No, and their other injury is their leading scorer, L.J. Cryer, who averages just at, I think, 13 and a half, if I remember just off the top of my head. He's a great player. But this team has done so well with recoup and just kind of staying in the motions. I do think that the injuries to Cryer and to Tachua will eventually bite them, but I don't think in this one. I think that North Carolina's defensive woes and Baylor's defensive prowess will be what finishes them. So with that, we're going to go ahead and see who Zach had, if I could ever find it. It's on here somewhere. Okay, so Zach does have Baylor winning this game, but he picked Marquette.
Oh, well.
But that still is a tiebreaker enough that Baylor wins that matchup.
Yeah.
So next up, St. Mary's and UCLA.
In my mind, this is a no-brainer for UCLA.
Yeah, like
Their star power just outmatches the Gales by so much. I think they can just score the ball a lot better than the Gales can. You were talking about that pacing issue with St. Mary's.
right.
I
I
think
agree.
that bites them here, and UCLA wins this one.
UCLA is that exact team that can run the ball. Like we were just talking about that pace battle. UCLA is the antithesis to St. Mary's, and I think UCLA, Johnny Juzang, even if he's at 75%, kill them in this matchup, I think.
Yeah.
So I'm going UCLA as well. Moving down, Virginia Tech, Purdue. I think I know where you're going with this, and if you are, I agree.
Yeah. Here's my athletic team that Purdue struggles with, right?
Yep.
We talked a lot about how Virginia Tech has it all. Maybe not title contention all, but they've got enough to where they took down North Carolina. They took down Duke in the ACC tournament.
Right.
I think they give Purdue a run for their money here, and I think the Hokies take it.
I agree. Simply for the fact that we talked about Purdue's defensive struggles, which means that they rely almost solely on offense, and Virginia Tech just happens to be really good defensively. And they're deep.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I agree. I think this is the game where Purdue will falter, and it's like what you just said. Virginia Tech is the scariest thing for Purdue. And I think it does bite them. So, next, Murray State and Kentucky. I think this is another one. It'll be a fun game.
It'll be a fun game. It's a Kentucky versus Kentucky school. And here's my thing for Kentucky, right? Is they're going to have to beat Murray State kind of teams if they want to win it all, right?
Right.
Because we've got Virginia Tech up next if they pull this one out against Murray. Virginia and Murray are essentially the same in my mind, right? Like if you could beat one, you should be able to beat the other.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I think obviously Kentucky comes out of this. I think they're just not necessarily way better, but like they just have a higher star power.
I agree. I think at halftime, I think Murray State could potentially be leading. I think it'll be a really fun game. I think that just the chip on their shoulder will have them up, but I think that Kentucky ends up winning by double digits in the end just for their size and star power.
Yeah.
All right, so the buzzer is about to sound, so we're gonna have to do our quick plays here. So Baylor, UCLA. This is where I have Baylor losing, actually. Where
I have UCLA winning as well.
Okay, cool. See, this is where I have like the Baylor's injuries to their leading scorer and shot blocker really kind of hurt them.
Yeah.
So yeah, quick shots here, UCLA. I think now looking at the Virginia Tech Kentucky matchup, I think this is where Virginia Tech kind of hits the wall.
Yeah, I think the inside presence of Sheboy and the 3-point shooting prowess of Ty Washington and Kellen Grady kind of take over this game.
I will say Virginia Tech is a scary team for Kentucky because of Mutz and Aluma's ability to face up and attack the basket. They might be able to get Oscar in trouble, but even with that, number one, I don't think Oscar is going to get in foul trouble, and two, I just like what you just said. I just don't think that Virginia Tech has enough to beat Kentucky.
Yeah, and even if Sheboy gets in foul trouble, I think Lance Ware off the bench is a better defender than Sheboy is.
Potentially. I mean, Tshiebwe's gotten a lot better over the course of the season.
He has.
So we both concur. Kentucky beats Virginia Tech, and now we've got a very fun Elite Eight matchup in UCLA and Kentucky.
This is a tough one,
It is.
right? I mean, when you look at it, like you kind of just when you look at the numbers, you kind of want to just pick Kentucky because they've got the better BPI.
Right.
Uh, they score more points per game. They've played a tougher schedule, but I mean, you can't count out UCLA. In my opinion, it comes down to Johnny Juzang, right? If he is healthy and he's on, he could take over any game. He did it
Right.
last year. He'll do it this year.
I'm in that same boat to where like UCLA, like we've been talking about UCLA's top 50 in both offensive points per game and opponents' points per game. It's like they score and they defend really well, which is something that a Kentucky team, they've had trouble scoring. And if they in a game like this, if they can't put the ball in the hoop against a team that can, I mean, obviously, it's just gonna cause issues.
Yeah.
A part of me does want to go UCLA.
Does UCLA have like a true big man?
Yeah, they do have some size. I don't think in the sense of like, can they compete with
Sheboy is what I'm
yeah,
thinking. Like, because I think that's where the big discrepancy is. I think a lot of these teams in the tournament will have a problem with Sheboy because he's kind of been that, player of the year kind of type all year where he's just getting unreal amounts of rebounds.
right.
And he lives in the paint where he scores like 15 a night. And if he's not making those layups, he's getting fouled and going to the free throw line where he's not a bad free throw shooter.
Yeah, I mean like looking at their roster, UCLA, they have a couple bigs. I don't really think like the biggest guy that gets consistent minutes is Miles Johnson. He's a 6'10" center, but I'm pretty sure he's their backup. Another one that plays is Mac Etienne. He's a 6'10" forward. But like I don't think that either one of those guys are going to be really like. Actually, no, I was mistaken. It wasn't Mac Etienne. The point I'm trying to say is, sorry, I completely misread that. The point that I'm trying to say is that UCLA does have some size. I think Kentucky's size, if they're hitting, will outdo them.
Yeah, I think so too.
All right, so going Kentucky.
Yep.
All right, and that has been the second of our Final Four teams. All right, moving over to the Midwest. Start off with Kansas and Texas Southern.
Man, like as good as Texas Southern like looked last night by being able to pull out that win, I think Kansas wins this one pretty easily.
I agree. They're one of those squads that Ogunjobi, or not Ogunjobi, Agbaji is playing so well. I mean, if not for Oscar, he's obviously going to be would have been the Naismith. Moving along, San Diego State and Creighton. Another one of those tough matchups.
Yeah, and I haven't seen much from San Diego State this year. Like they beat St. Mary's, Colorado State. But I really like Creighton in this matchup. That we were talking about the Big East being a tough conference. I really think that tougher conference that they were in prepares them for this, closer matchup that they will have here.
Right. See, I do disagree with you simply because, well, there's two main factors in this. Number one, San Diego State has the second best in opponents' points per game in the nation at 57.7, so they don't really allow a lot. They have multiple guys that average one dude, Mensa, that averages over 2 blocks a game. They do have some struggles offensively, but they also are they have the fourth lowest opponent field goal percentage in the nation, at 38%. So teams that play them don't shoot very well. And you look over at Creighton, and they're a very good defensive team too. They only allow teams to shoot 39%. But my main issue with this, okay, is Creighton lost their lead guard, their lead distributor, the lead scorer, and Ryan Nembhard. He's out for the season.
Yeah.
Creighton has a turnover problem, and they have this issue with playing isolation basketball. When you play isolation basketball without a guy that can actually do it properly against a really good defensive team, you got issues. So yeah,
Man, Yeah. I mean, you bring up great points. I think, like when it comes down to it, with the loss of Nimhard, I think we go to San Diego State.
Yeah, I mean, Nemhard average over 4 assists a game.
Yeah, that's hard to replace.
So I'm gonna go San Diego State. Like if he was there, I'd go Creighton. I completely agree with you because Creighton doesn't really have that offensive firepower, or not Creighton. San Diego State doesn't really have any offensive firepower. But without Nemhard and their turnover issues against one of the best defensive teams in the nation, I don't think it will happen. So moving on, Iowa and Richmond.
I think we go Iowa here, in my opinion.
I love Iowa.
Keegan Murray he's a problem for
Oh, he's
almost anyone.
how is he not on the Naismith? Like watch.
I think it's probably because Iowa's not been a top team all year. Where Bancaro on Duke or Sheboy on
Yeah,
Kentucky
but this man
has
leads
been.
Power 5 scoring at
I know
23.
he does, and it's a shame that he's not. Um,
Like just watching them play, they play like I wouldn't say scrappy. They're not the best defensive team, but they're competent. They play very hard for Coach Fran McCaffrey.
yeah,
They're
that my only knock against them is they allow so many points per game, but they are one of the highest scoring teams in the country.
yeah, and honestly, I feel like their points per game is kind of swayed because they're in the Big Ten. Granted, they should be better, but I just watching them play in the Big Ten championship. I love Iowa. I just think that they're one of those you talk about hot at the right time. They're hot at the right time. They've won 12 of their last 14 games since the beginning of February. And they rank fourth nationally in points per game, led by Keegan Murray. They've also got other guys too, like complimentary guys like Jordan Bohannon and Patrick McCaffrey. They just play so well, man.
Yeah,
I don't understand this whole hype for Richmond upsetting Iowa. Richmond, we're both going Iowa, so I've pressed it. Richmond, man, they're a team that they had a disappointing season and they got hot in the tournament and they won 4 games in 4 days. They're full of seniors. Like I get why people pick them because of their age, but like they've not really been that good all season.
yeah.
So yeah, I think Iowa runs away with that one. Moving on, Derek, I think we've got our first
We've got our
13.
first, yeah, the Jackrabbits.
I know that this is probably the most like I don't want to say obvious, but the most popular pick of upsets. But I don't care.
And but it is for good reason, right?
Yeah.
Providence got absolutely obliterated in their conference tournament. Okay, and when I say Providence got absolutely obliterated, let me find it real quick. The Big East,
Oh right, yeah.
Providence.
Like they did not play well. Like I mean, like throughout the season they have.
Creighton beat Providence by 27 points.
That is a
You're
problem.
gonna you're gonna tell me that you have been a top 10 team, all right, and you get beat by an unranked opponent by 27 points.
Yeah.
That is, I mean,
See, like to defend Providence, like all their other losses other than the one to Creighton have been to teams that are in the tournament. They've not lost one game to a
yes,
team that's not in the NCAA tournament right now, which I think says a lot about them. They've won a lot of really close games. They've not like some would say they play down to their opponent. I don't agree with that. They've won those games. So like the only thing that matters is a W, right?
yeah,
So like I do think that they're a tough team. They have the big three combination in Nate Watson, Al Durham, and Jared Bynum, which is a very tough combination. But I think that's what will hurt them in this game is that they're not the best defensively. They're only mediocre, and they're playing the second highest points per game in the nation. They play Eric Henderson's South Dakota State, and dude, Douglas Wilson and Baylor Shearman. Baylor Shearman being the Summit League Player of the Year. I think they have a lot of problems.
yeah. Like you can't like Providence's defense is not good enough to make up for the fact that the Jackrabbits score almost 90 points a game.
And as a team, they shoot 45% from three,
Yeah,
which is
I
ridiculous.
I think the Jackrabbits easily handle Providence in this one.
I won't say easily, but I do agree that they win the game. All right, moving down, LSU and Iowa State. This is another really tough one, bro.
Yeah, I like LSU in this matchup. Most of their they've kind of just been the middle pack all year, where they've been a little inconsistent at times, kind of like in Alabama, in my opinion, where they'll beat top teams like they beat Tennessee, they beat Kentucky, right?
I don't know if they beat
But then
Kentucky, but they'd have some really good wins under their belt. Sure.
they beat Kentucky in early January
Oh, okay,
down
yeah, they
in
did.
LSU.
Right.
So like they have the power to beat those teams, and Iowa State, like, they haven't really shown me much against, like, a top team. Yes, they beat Texas Tech, but then lost to Baylor twice, lost to Kansas twice, split with, Texas. So, I think LSU takes this one.
You know, I'm
Yeah, well, my only thing with LSU is they're in a coaching change right now.
yeah, that's what I was about to bring up. I am taking LSU with you, but right now they're under interim coach Kevin Nickelberry, who is the closest thing to Will Wade that isn't. He is one of Will Wade's assistants, or was, I guess, is a way to put it. I
Yeah.
think they win this game simply because. So think about it. The NCAA is going to come down with some sort of punishment on LSU, right?
Mhm.
They're led by three players, two of them seniors, in Darius Days and Xavier Pinson. Their best player is sophomore Tari Eason. I think with a lot of seniors on roster, they got good size. They're a great defensive team. I think they don't really shoot it that well, but I think that they're going to play with this sense of this is it. And they really don't have anything to lose, right? Like they're going to get punished, and there's no telling when this LSU team will be back.
I just think LSU takes this one.
I agree. I agree. So moving on to Wisconsin and Colgate. I know you said if Colgate was over in the Akron position against UCLA, you'd think about it. Are you thinking about it now?
I am, and that's the sole purpose of we don't know how healthy Johnny Davis is, right?
That is fair.
And I mean, even though uh, Brad Davis is their leading scorer, okay. Actually, wait, no, he's not. I'm sorry, Johnny Davis is the leading scorer. Colgate is one of those teams that you don't really want to see in the tournament
No, you're right.
because I mean, like they're on a winning streak. Nobody really wants to play them. They've won their conference pretty handedly. I just don't think you want to see them. They haven't lost since January 28th.
Yeah, and like all those things are like correct. I don't know. I just think Wisconsin takes it. I think that they're the tougher team. I think they play in a tougher conference. I don't think they lose to Colgate, but I can understand why you're saying what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean Wisconsin most likely wins it. It all depends on the healthiness of Johnny Davis for me. So, but
Right.
uh, Wisconsin probably takes this. I do like Colgate in this upset though.
I think the smart move would be Wisconsin, but I'm not gonna say you're wrong. All right, so next we have USC and Miami. I
This is
I, I like Miami in this.
I do too. I do too. They beat Duke. They beat North Carolina by 28. They beat Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
Uh, but you know what? They also lost to Alabama by 32. So,
See, here's the thing. These two teams are it's another one of those matchups where they play the exact opposite brand of basketball. So anything can happen.
and
Miami plays that 5 out, like 4 guards and a stretch four lineup to where they just run the floor, and they even in the half court they're playing super fast and they're shooting the ball. On the other side, you got Andy Enfield's USC squad, who's they're big. They play through Isaiah Mobley and Memphis transfer Boogie Ellis, so they play big. They get a lot of points in the paint. They don't like they kind of have like a wishy washy kind of like a depending on the flow of the game kind of fast break to half court oriented. I would say probably leaning a little bit more towards fast break, but it really just depends. I think in this instance, if USC is gonna have to win the game, they're gonna have to really slow it down, really pick apart the Miami defense that is lacking in a big. But I think that Miami and their style will just be something that USC squad that just looks out of gas. USC has lost 3 of their last 4 games. They just look tired, and I think facing a running and gunning Miami squad is not going to help.
Yeah, and although USC has Isaiah Mobley, he kind of reminds me of like an Oscar Tshiebwe, where he's averaging 14 points, 8 rebounds a game. Like he could be a problem, right? If Miami does not lock him down.
Oh yeah. No, if
But
sorry, go ahead.
USC's biggest weakness is free throw shooting.
Oh yeah.
They can't hit free throws, which in the tournament, we've seen it before. You need to hit free throws to win you a game. So I think that's why Miami takes this one.
I agreed. Miami. And next, this is going to be another quick one. Auburn, Jacksonville State. I
As
think
badly as I want to pick Jacksonville State, I think Auburn wins.
they win pretty handedly. I don't think there's a world where
You know,
Miami really has a shot. Or not
SEC
Miami, sorry.
freshman,
Jacksonville State.
yeah, SEC freshman of the year, Jabari Smith, Wendell Green transfer from EKU, Walker Kessler, defensive player of the year in the SEC.
Tough.
They've just got a well-rounded squad.
Loaded, yeah. So yeah, they're gonna be a hard out.
Yeah,
All right, going back to the top, we got a few minutes left here. Kansas is San Diego State.
I have Kansas. I
Agreed.
think I just think their scoring ability will outweigh San Diego State's defensive ability. I think
Yeah,
Abaji has a real big game here. Probably drops at least 25 to win this if they want to win.
yeah. Like San Diego State doesn't have the offensive power, I think, to be able to beat Kansas. Like they're great defensively, and like I do think that they will probably give them some fits, but I think Kansas just has too many weapons.
Yeah.
Moving along, Iowa and San Diego State. As much as I want to stay Cinderella and say San Diego State, I love Iowa.
As much as you love Iowa, I'm staying Cinderella. All right.
No, why?
I think San Diego State just has the scoring ability. All right. Like these two are both great scoring teams, not very good defensively. All right. I think San Diego State, I'm not sorry, San Diego State, South Dakota State can outscore Iowa. Even though we were talking about how good Keegan Murray is, I think South Dakota State can outscore Iowa to pull off this upset.
And like I'm not gonna say like once again, this is another thing. I don't want to say that you're wrong. Man, I don't know. See, interesting enough. So we're gonna have to figure this out on our own because Zach had
Okay.
Providence making a run past Iowa.
Ooh,
So if you wanted to, we could say that he did pick the Cinderella because technically, he has Iowa losing here. Actually, that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna give you San Diego State because Zach technically did say Providence. So we have the Jackrabbits making a run to the Sweet 16.
hey man, if Loyola Chicago can do it, anybody can do it.
No,
All
I
right,
I will say Loyola Chicago actually does play defense.
that's true.
I digress.
But I mean, it's hard to beat 86 points a game, 87 points
No,
a
you're
game.
right. It is. Moving along, we got LSU, Wisconsin. I think this is pretty easy.
I think we go Wisconsin here.
Yep. I think following that up, Miami, Auburn. I think it's another easy one.
Yeah, Auburn's gonna win that one pretty easily. I think.
Yep. Now with 25 seconds, Kansas, South Dakota State.
Here's where the run ends. As
Yeah.
much as I want to pick them, I just think uh, Kansas does have a decently okay defense. So I think that's what shuts them down. And they've got a really good length.
Right.
So I think we go Kansas.
Agreed. I think this is just another game where I mean, even more so than the San Diego State game. I think that the buzzer just went off. I think that Abaji just he'll have if he has a 30 piece against San Diego State, he'll have another one against South Dakota State.
Yeah.
Looking down, Wisconsin and Auburn.
I have Wisconsin.
I agree. I love that we're on the same wavelength here.
I have Wisconsin purely because, you know, they've, for the most part, kind of play a similar game, whereas, they uh, don't like. I mean, I think Auburn takes a lot more threes than Wisconsin does.
Right.
I think that goes without saying. But Wisconsin and Johnny Davis can hit them when they need them, right?
Yeah.
Whereas
That game's gonna be
Auburn
so much.
relies on them.
Dude, Jabari Smith versus Johnny Davis.
Yeah.
I think Johnny Davis comes out. Like I just feel like that Wisconsin team, they're built for this moment.
Like as we have Wisconsin going to the Elite Eight here, it would not surprise me if Colgate beats them in the first round.
I
Like
know that would be something that happened. Well, now we got to pick a Final Four. Who's winning between Kansas and Wisconsin?
I think Kansas.
I don't want to say Kansas. I just have a feeling. I hate picking one seeds. That's my problem. Is that one
I do
seeds?
too,
Like
but
I'm gonna agree with you because I do think Kansas is the better team. I hate picking one seeds.
yeah, but I mean they're a 1 seed for a reason, and we haven't picked any other 1 seed. So
You're right. You're right. You're right. All right. That's the end of our third side of the bracket. All right, Derek. This is it. Our final side of the bracket before we finally pick our winner. Arizona plays the winner of Wright State and Bryant. So first, who's winning that playing game?
you know, like looking at the stats here, uh, Wright State scores has scored more points. Bryant scores more points per game. Wright State has a better field goal percentage. Here's my thing: Bryant is third in the nation in rebounds per game at 41. And they block 4.5 shots per game, which is good enough to be 44th in the nation. I think the defense of Bryant will handle Wright State.
Right.
With that being said, Arizona mops the floor with whoever comes out.
Yeah, like if Bryant wins, I can see it, like there is a reality where that rebounding and defense can give problems for Arizona, but that's not this reality.
No.
So Arizona wins. Whoever wins the Wright State Bryant. I'll go Bryant too. I really honestly I don't know enough about either squad. All I know is that they're not beating Arizona.
No.
All right, another real these 8-9 matchups I love. They're so much fun.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously they're just so close, just one seeding between them.
Yeah, Seton Hall and TCU in this instant. Who we got? Who we taking?
This is tough, man. It is real tough because part of me really likes TCU. They were giving Kansas run for their money up until the very end,
Yep.
but
I'm gonna go TCU as well, but for these reasons, right? So looking at Seton Hall, they are also a great defensive team. They're 12th in the nation in most block shots per game with 5.5. Um, gosh, I cannot pronounce this guy's name. First name's Ike. His last name is oh man, Abagiu.
I don't think we're gonna give you any flack for not being able to pronounce
I
that one.
know, but still. So you got Ike, and you got also in the backcourt Tyree Samuel, who's just a hair under a block a game. They've got a lot of size, 8 upperclassmen on the roster. These two issues, okay? We talked about this before with Creighton, okay? Seton Hall's in the exact same situation where they lost their best scorer and isolation player in Bryce Aiken to injury. They're also prone to play isolation ball, and that leads to a lot of bad shots. So yes, defensively they're tough, and they will give TCU some issues. TCU being so scrappy, so physical. Jamie Dixon has them playing at their best basketball at the best time. I just think that injury issue will give TCU.
Yeah, my only worry for TCU here is on the Seton Hall side. Alexis Yitna, all right, averages 8 rebounds a game. 3 of those 8 come from the offensive glass, right?
That could be an issue.
TCU is among the best offensive rebounding teams in the nation, which, you know, if they can win that offensive rebounding battle to where they get those second chance points, I can see where they can give TCU some problems. But I do like TCU in this matchup.
No, I completely agree. This is another one of those matchups that even if Seton Hall wins, no one's going to be surprised.
Right.
All right, moving along here. Houston and UAB. Now, I have a question for you before we move on. Do you remember Andy Kennedy, the Ole
I
Miss,
do remember Andy Kennedy.
the Ole Miss coach?
He was at Ole Miss for a while, then he became a commentator
Yeah.
back his alma mater.
I know. Isn't that crazy? Like, I saw that looking up some UAB stuff, and I was like, Andy Kennedy? I'm very happy for this man. Anyway, now we got to pick. We got to describe why he's probably going to lose this game.
I don't think he does.
Really?
I don't think he does. I think,
Wow.
Houston has not really shown me anything that like stands out. Whereas UAB dropped 104 on Middle Tennessee in the championship, or not? I'm sorry, not the championship, the
That means,
semifinals of the Conference USA tournament.
you
So
know, I I like Houston a lot. Like, okay, here's the thing. All right, you know what? I'll give you this one actually. I will agree with you simply for the fact that we talked about injuries and how much they play. Houston lost Marcus Sasser and Tremont Mark for the season earlier in the year. But here's the thing: to play devil's advocate, talk about defensive teams. They turned not only were they able to right the ship and kind of play against these injuries and play as good as they have been, they're fourth in the nation at opponents' points per game.
yeah,
58.9. Like Tyler Edwards and Fabian White are playing very nice, man.
yeah, they are. I give you that. But here's my thing. All right, Jordan Walker at UAB averages 20 points a game, shooting 40% from three. All right, he's 88% from the line. This man is putting up some unreal stats. Averages 5 assists a game.
Yeah. Oh, I know what you mean.
He
Like I said, I'm gonna give you this one.
he had 40 against Middle Tennessee, and then to follow it up the next day had 27. So not like let's not even get to the fact he had 26 the day before Middle Tennessee. So in that 3 day span, he scored what is this 53 and 40. So that's 93 points in 3 days.
So I'm gonna give you. I give you UAB. I do. I do. And now we're gonna move on because this next one. The reason I gave you UAB is because I actually took Chattanooga in this next one.
Well, you know what? I took Chattanooga as well.
Let's go. Listen, man.
The mocks are looking good. They're scary.
They are scary. Here's the thing. They have a legit star in Malachi Smith. He averages 20 points a game. They've got a legit like sidekick for him in David Jean-Baptiste, who hit the buzzer beater for them to win the SoCon. They also have Kansas transfer. You remember the center, DeSosa?
Yes.
That is where he is.
Okay.
He's
So
currently
yeah,
playing and starting for Chattanooga. He's a good rebounder. He's averaging 11 and 8 if I remember correctly, maybe 11 and 7. He's been a really good starter for them, lots of size. And Illinois has had a lot of issues recently in early rounds. Specifically last year losing to Loyola. Granted, I do think Illinois is a better team this year. I do think they're mad, but I don't know, man. I can smell it.
yeah. I mean, to look at Illinois' side, like yes, Kofi Coburn is an outstanding player. I mean, averages 21 points a game, 10 rebounds a game. I really think the Mocs pull off the upset here.
I do too. And not to mention Chattanooga is a great defensive team.
They are.
Like
You
they
know, they
sorry,
what
go
is
ahead.
it? They give up 64 points a game on average. That both these teams score around the same per game, but the Mocs give up less points per game.
Yeah, and I mean, you can say that that was because the SoCon was weaker, which is a fact. But also, I think Chattanooga gives Illinois a lot of trouble. I think Kofi Coburn does go off, but I do think that Chattanooga just upset Cinderella. Whatever. We've seen weirder things in March. I'm excited to talk about the UAB Chattanooga second round, but first, we got to get through the last four matchups: Colorado State and Michigan. I think honestly, this is one of those that really could go either way. Michigan is they are 17 and 14. They've had I think the third toughest strength of schedule. So winning 17 of those games is really impressive.
Yes, it is. I'm just not high on Michigan, right? I don't know if it's the vendetta I have against them because they shouldn't be in the tournament. There were so many other good teams that
They're
should have
very
been in.
roller coaster prone too. Like you never know what Michigan squad's going to show up.
You don't, and I think this Colorado State team has looked pretty good all year, right? I mean, they've only lost 5 games. Yes, they're not in the best of conferences, but they look good.
Yeah. No, the Mountain West
So
is tough. I will say it's not like it's a weak conference.
right. I mean, obviously it's no Big Ten, but like coming out of the Mountain West, like Colorado State's good, and they got an at-large bid. So right, like San Diego State came in and took the conference title from them. So the fact that they got in with this at-large bid, I'm looking at Colorado State to do some damage.
We both taking Colorado State.
I think we take Colorado State here.
All right, cool. Moving on. Colorado State will play the winner of Tennessee and Longwood, and I think this is another one of those that there's not
Especially,
really a sense in looking at it too hard.
right, like yes, I like Longwood. but Tennessee's hot. They are an unreal team, right?
Defensively, they're
Vescovi,
so tough.
yeah, they're great defensively. Vescovi and Kennedy Chandler, unreal at shooting the three ball. It's gonna be hard for anyone to knock off these Volunteers.
That's the thing. Like they play great defense, but they're not like necessarily scrappy, so they stay out of foul trouble,
Yes.
which makes them scary. Like they're a lot like Texas Tech in that sense, to where their defense is really well played, very well coached. Rick Barnes is a genius on that side of the ball. So yeah, I'm going. I mean, it's not really that much of a shocker, but Tennessee beats Longwood. We've been on the same page for a lot of this, Derek, and I think we're going to stay on the same page for this next matchup.
Loyola Chicago.
Loyola Chicago.
Here's all right. So listen, my reasoning behind this Loyola Chicago pick, right? They both teams average 73.8 points a game. BPI 23 for Ohio State, 25 for Loyola Chicago.
Right.
Loyola Chicago, where these two teams differ, far superior on the defensive side of the ball.
Exactly.
So in Ohio State, they're 19-11, kind of there with Michigan, in my opinion. 17-14, 19-11. Ohio State didn't do anything in the Big Ten conference, like tournament.
Right.
Well, I don't think they do anything in this tournament either.
No, I agree. I think Loyola, the Missouri Valley's a tough conference, and it only gets tougher because in this next year they're adding Belmont and Murray State. So,
Yeah.
but looking at this year, the Missouri Valley's still a very tough conference. They're led by first-year head coach Drew Valentine. The guy is 30 years old, but he's been under Coach Porter Moser, who left for Oklahoma for the last 4 years during this whole Loyola Chicago like renaissance and this whole thing that they've been going through. So I don't think this is your stereotypical first-year, 30-year-old head coach. I think this is a guy that knows what he's doing. He knows how to coach. He knows what this team needs. This team is very good defensively. They're top 20 in opponents' points per game. They return a lot of guys that have played in the tournament. So I really think that the seeding should have been switched for them.
Yeah. Well, and when you look at it, the past two tournaments, 10 seeds against 7 seeds are 6-2. Technically 5-2 with one no contest due to COVID. But the 10 seeds have owned this matchup in the past couple years. So
Right.
Loyola Chicago is a no-brainer in my mind.
I agree. And the last one, we're just gonna go ahead and pick Villanova.
Yeah, I mean, sorry to Delaware, but
The Blue Hens.
Villanova's hot right now, and they are gonna stay hot.
They are. So going back up to the top, TCU and Arizona.
I think Arizona's offense takes over this game.
Yeah, but this is the exact type of team that TCU's been playing very well against.
Yeah, I give you that. Like, when they played Kansas, they held their own for 35 minutes, but that last 5 minutes is
They
when they
won
crumbled.
one of those games.
Yes, I know, but they can't finish out games.
Listen, man,
Is my problem.
this isn't a series. This is a one-time thing. They only need one game to beat Arizona.
It's not this one though. Arizona's too good. They score 85 points a game.
Yeah. I know the whole thing. I'm going to give it to you because I agree with you. I'm taking Arizona. I was really hoping I could convince you to take TCU, but I agree. Arizona's going to win. All right. So, one of the most entertaining matchups I think we've predicted so far. UAB and Chattanooga.
This is a barn burner right here, man.
Oh, yeah.
I think if I had to guess, I think you're going with the Mocs and I'm going with the Blazers.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely how it looks, doesn't it? The Mocs average 74 points per game. The Blazers, they average 80. Chattanooga allows 64 points per game. UAB allows 66. I mean, on one side you got Jordan Walker, on the other side you got Malachi Smith.
If I say if because this is obviously all predictions, even though our bracket's gonna be 100% correct, nobody's gonna beat it. This matchup right here is gonna be my favorite matchup to watch if it comes to fruition, right?
Yeah.
because neither team is supposed to be there. All right, you're on a Cinderella type run, so I think we're gonna have to consult Zach because I think I'm sticking with UAB. You're probably gonna stick with
All
Chattanooga.
right,
So
I'm gonna look at what Zach predicted, and
Zach,
the
Zach's
way,
gonna put Houston and Illinois, and then the winner of that is who we're gonna
yeah.
have.
So what I'm gonna end up doing is whoever he picked, okay, between the winner of those two. So like whichever side he came out of, okay.
I will say, if he picked like an upset here, I think we go with that team.
No, so sadly he did exactly what you said he would do. He took Houston in Illinois, but he had Illinois beating Houston.
So we got to go with the Mocs.
So I think we go Chattanooga beating UAB.
Chattanooga, which is really upsetting to me because I really think UAB could have gave Arizona a run for their money with that high-powered offense.
Oh
Which,
yeah, they definitely could, but this is a
you know,
democracy.
this is a democracy. That's the best way to live life is through democracy.
Exactly. The buzzer just sounded. So we now have Chattanooga. I will give you one last opportunity to try to convince me to change my vote for UAB.
I mean, the only argument I can give here is Jordan Walker. The man is a walking bucket. Like 93 points in 3 days is unreal. Obviously, he's comfortable playing back to back to back. So I don't see any problem with him having, fatigue issues or anything. And like the man averages 20 points a game.
You know
That's
what? I'll give it to you.
you're giving me a UAB?
UAB goes on to face Arizona.
Oh, let's go.
All right, after that, we got Tennessee and Colorado State. I think this is another one of those. I like Colorado State a lot, but Tennessee is just the better team.
Yes.
All right, Tennessee moves on. Loyola and Villanova.
I want Sister Jean to get a title. It ain't happening here though.
Yeah, I agree. Villanova. So in our
Nope.
Sweet 16 in the South, we have Arizona, UAB, Tennessee, Villanova. You know what? I'm hopping on your UAB bandwagon.
It's
I'm hopping on. I think you sold me. Their offensive firepower, led by Jordan Walker, coached by Andy Kennedy, will upset Arizona and make it to the Elite Eight.
Oh man, if it happens, you know what? They're gonna run into a hot Tennessee team though that is probably just gonna murder them.
I'm happy that you said that because I was literally I was not gonna let you pick Villanova. Like I didn't care. I didn't care how much you
No,
disagreed. Tennessee was moving on in that matchup.
yeah,
And I think in this one, Tennessee also beats UAB to go to the
yeah.
final.
This is where the Cinderella ends.
Hey man, it's a fun ride.
It is. An Elite Eight is nothing to shake your head at.
No. And now we're here. At long last, we're at our Final Four. On one side, on April 2nd, well, both are on April 2nd, but on one side, we got Texas Tech and Kentucky, and on the other, we got Tennessee and Kansas. I'm telling you right now, okay? I did fill out my personal bracket, and two of the four of the teams that we have here, I have in my personal, and those two do fight in the national championship in my bracket.
I'm pretty sure this is my exact Final Four in my personal bracket.
Is it really?
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
Although I did have, I think I had a little bit different. I think I had St. Mary's going to the Elite Eight somehow. Um, so we won't talk about that.
It's okay. Hey, anything is possible.
It is. It is possible.
I going to the personal Final Four, since you've said yours, my personal Final Four is the same thing, Tech and Kentucky, but on the others, actually, no, three. I had three of the Final Four. Wow. I said two. I meant three. Tech and Kentucky, but then on the other side, I have Iowa instead of Kansas. I know that that's not that shocking, but still.
I could see Iowa making a run.
I kept saying earlier, I love this Iowa team. I'm not trying to we're not changing our Final Four. What's done is done. But
Yeah.
just personally, that's why I was very much into Iowa. Like I said, I gave them the South Dakota State win because Zach in his deal breaker. But now looking at the subs and 15 Final Four, let's go ahead and pick the Texas Tech Kentucky matchup. What you think?
Man, the Red Raiders defense is what is my only thing that could stop Kentucky here.
Yeah,
But
I have Texas Tech winning this game.
I have Kentucky winning purely because I think Sheboy can do Sheboy type things and take over a game, but I could be sold on Texas Tech because of that stellar defense that they have, right?
Right.
My only issue is, yes, they have a stellar defense. Can they score enough to beat Kentucky, right?
I think they do, man. Like Kentucky can be streaky, and if that defense is giving Kentucky fits, it doesn't really matter if they're on or off offensively. That is enough to beat them.
It is. Uh, I I don't think I could be swayed from Kentucky though. I just think they're like they score almost 80 points a game. They have arguably the player of the year in Oscar Sheboy. They've got experience that they normally don't have. They've got the seniors, and uh, I think we're gonna have to consult Zach on this one.
So Zach's Final Four, his personal has Duke, Kentucky, Arizona, and Kansas,
Okay.
and he has Duke beating Kentucky in the Final Four.
All right. So we go with Tech.
So Texas Tech beats Kentucky to go to the national championship. Looking across from them, Tennessee and Kansas. This is literally for me the exact same thing,
Yeah.
and you know who I'm going to take.
Well, I mean, you're gonna take Tennessee
I am.
because of that stellar defense. But I'm in the same boat as where if Kansas is hot, that defense doesn't matter if Abaji drops like 45.
No, and I completely understand. But at the end of the day, in these tournaments, man, like defense wins. Defense is what like the best defensive teams go the farthest.
They do.
And like not that Kansas is a bad defensive team by any means. I just think that Tennessee's better.
Yeah.
You know
Rick
that like
Barnes is
that's what I'm saying. Like Tennessee can
Rick
get their
Barnes has
bucket when
built
they
that.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was saying Rick Barnes has built that culture there. They've thrived under Rick Barnes in the past. I think he's been there for 8 years now. He's like the only coach in the SEC to ever have a winning record against Calipari. So I mean, obviously he's doing something right.
Exactly. Like I really think I think Tennessee should have been a 1 in this tournament.
I don't know if they should have been a 1. I think they should have got the 2 over Duke.
I think
But look,
honestly,
in hindsight, I think they're fine being this 3 because their road compared to Duke's road is so much harder.
oh no, you're right, but I think Tennessee before we consult Zach and see who gets this pick, I think Tennessee should have been the 1 over Baylor, and I think Villanova should have dropped to 3 and Baylor fill in the 2 spot in the South.
Yeah, I could see that.
That would because Tennessee had a one of those tough conferences. They beat Kentucky and Auburn. No, not they didn't beat Auburn. They beat Kentucky and who
They
else?
beat Auburn.
Did they beat?
They
Yeah, it
beat
was
Auburn.
Auburn. Yeah, okay. They beat Kentucky and Auburn on their way to a championship, both of which of an SEC championship, both of which those two teams that they beat got seeding over them, which makes no sense. Baylor didn't even win the Big 12. You know what I mean? Like at,
Oh, I 100% agree. Baylor should not have been a 1.
at the very least, Villanova should have been the 3 and Tennessee the 2. But I feel like the reason that do you want to know why I think Villanova got the 2 over Tennessee? Villanova beat Tennessee earlier in the season.
Yeah, that's probably it.
That's got to be. But I think that's a crime. I think Tennessee, as the SEC champion, beating two seeds, should have been the 1 over Baylor. Baylor should have been a 2, and Villanova should have been a 3.
Well, I mean, you can make the same argument. Like Kentucky should have been a 1 over Kansas because Kentucky beat Kansas by 18 in Allen Fieldhouse. So,
But Kansas won the Big 12.
they did.
Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, if Tennessee is a 1, you've got 4 conference champions.
Yeah.
Which would make so much sense because those 4 conferences are well, outside of Gonzaga. But, like, you're not moving Gonzaga off that 1.
No.
But you got 4 conference champions, 3 of which are Power 5. I think it makes so much sense. I don't understand the love for the Big 12. I understand the Big 12's tough. I think it's probably the 3rd toughest in the nation behind the SEC and the Big 10.
Yeah.
But once again, I digress. Back to this. I still think Tennessee beats Kansas just because Kansas doesn't have as good of a defense as Tennessee, so Tennessee's going to be able to score when they want to, or when they need to, I should say, and Tennessee can stop Kansas.
I think so as well. I think Tennessee wins it.
So you're going Tennessee?
I'm going Tennessee.
Dope. Here we go. We're here. At long last, we're here. Derek, I want you to go first. Texas Tech and Tennessee play for the national championship down in New Orleans on April 4th. Who wins it?
I think Tennessee wins it. I mean, when you look at these two teams on paper, roughly the same defensively, and Tennessee's just got better offense.
I completely agree. I mean, for everything we've already said, I think in this matchup, this is going to be one of those low scoring. Like you're going to have, I genuinely think because we got to pick a final score, so I'm going Tennessee. I think it'll be 63-48.
I had 62-57. So, I mean, yes, I think we're kind of near in the same. Like, yes, pick whatever score you want. I
We
don't.
can go. So I
It's
think we meet in the middle. I had 62, you had 63. So let's go 62, and then the middle between 48 and
40.
what you say 57.
Yeah, so that's what, like 52
I was gonna say
ish,
3.
52, 53,
I,
whatever.
I I picked 53. So I mean we're in the same boat here.
Yeah.
I really think Tennessee being as good defensively as they are, I think they're underrated as one of the best two-way teams in the nation. I think they got snubbed from a 1 in the way that they played to end out the SEC tournament. Like you just said, I think Rick Barnes, he's got the winning formula this year.
It would not surprise me if they pulled it off.
Yep, I think Joey McGuire. If this was Joey McGuire's third or fourth season at Texas Tech, I think that they do it. But where I don't think he's got the experience that Rick Barnes has.
Yeah.
But yeah, I picked Tennessee. This is what I had in my final. Except my final, in my final had, like I said, Tennessee 62 or 63, Tech 48. But this, I mean, I think that this is about I really think Tennessee's gonna win this.
Uh, yeah, it would not surprise me. And with the way, this shapes up, this just proves the Big Ten. It's a tough conference to play on, in conference time. But when it comes to like nationally, I don't think the Big Ten is can match up to like the Big 12 or the SEC or the
No,
Pac-12.
until the Big Ten proves that they can win in March, I won't. It's the same thing with like me and Gonzaga. It's like until those teams can prove to me that they can win in March, I don't think that they're going to. Like the only reason I know Rick Barnes, people out there are going, well, Rick, you just picked Rick Barnes in Tennessee, and Rick Barnes has had a rough go of it in March. But SEC teams win in March
They do.
because
The
the
only
SEC
team
is tough,
the only team in the Big Ten that like remotely has any success in March is Michigan State and Tom Izzo.
and
Like,
that's
yes, Michigan made a run, but other than that, I think it's just Michigan State. So
yeah. I just think that there's that separation between the SEC and the Big Ten. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, that's our show. Tennessee, according to us, you're gonna be the national champions. Derek, what you think about that?
I won't be surprised. I'll say it that way. I personally I had Kentucky winning it, but there's some bias laying there. But Tennessee is my second pick, so I'm not surprised with this.
Yeah, I mean, I think if I
I
was to
really
make
want UAB to go all the way. That's my
yes,
thing.
if
UAB runs the table.
if I was
That's
to
my
make
thing.
another bracket, I think I'd pick Arizona, like another personal one. But it's just so this year is really going to be tough to gauge. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that's been the show. Thank you guys for watching. Subscribe to the Eastern Progress YouTube page. If you have any questions, go to the Eastern Progress. Uh, go to easternprogress.com to check out whoever you want to talk to. Emails, phone numbers, all up in our descriptions. Yeah, Derek, got any final words for our people at home?
Join the bracket challenge.
Join the bracket challenge. Yep, in the
See
description
how
of.
you stack up against us.
Dude, yeah, I want to see you try to predict against the 100% accurate bracket. Link in the description, and we'll see you guys later.
Peace.